Alright, students, fine. Girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, a very special good evening to everyone. A new week and a new energy. Alright, fine. We are at day 11 of our Python series and the day 49 of our full stack web development ongoing series. Okay, otherwise my audibility, visibility all clear to go ahead. Please acknowledge us in the chat section. Okay, fine. Anyways, before we could begin with the duty today and the upcoming topics, let's have a quick recap of what we have learned in the class last time. Okay, we were talking about the conditional statements in Python with the help of if-else structure. Am I right? Even more important than conditional statement, the topic that we discussed that day was concept of indentations in Python. Am I right? How Python indents a line of code to fall into a group and become a block of code. Unlike other programming languages, Python don't make use of opening closing curly brackets to indicate the block of code. Is that correct? Fine. Okay, we have also learned what was that if else ladder. Elif. This is how we spelled it, ELIF. We also learned somewhere in the middle of the class that what was nested if. It's like only if one condition is true, we go ahead to check for the other condition. Okay, people, by the way, nobody has acknowledged. It would be better if you could write visibility, audibility all clear or not. Is that fine? Take it. Okay, the class today is for iterative statements in Python, that is learning loops. If you are here coming from the background of C, C++, JavaScript, this topic might seem very easy to you. Only the difference would be in syntax, how Python uses to write loops. Is that okay? Fine. Okay, but my very humble request to the friends who are learning loop for the first time, it might seem a little tricky concept, but we know over with a period of time and a consistent practice, you form a habit eventually to become a part of loop. Okay, clear. Thank you. Okay, guys, one more thing. It doesn't matter you know, you don't know, you are a new person to loop, concept of coding. Remember one thing, loops or looping forms an integral part of coding. In fact, it constitutes more than 20-30% of any ordinary project's code. So moral of the story, loops or iterative statements is an important topic. Okay, many of the logic is written through loop. Many of the logic can be achieved only via looping. Okay, so make sure you are understanding loop. In this 1 hour class today, what we are focusing is on the syntax more than the logic building. More than the logic building, we are focusing on the syntax of Python, different types of loops, and also we will be giving you some assignment question which will play a major part in logic building and force you brainstorm your mind to learn and use loops. Okay, fine. Take it. Here we go. For any doubt, please write to us in the comment section. If you find we are going too fast or too slow or any other feedback input, please let us know. Okay? So here we go. This is the agenda of the class today. First of all, we are learning what is loop. Then what are the two types of loop? One called as a while loop, one called as a for loop. Then what are these 2 to 3 keywords when we use loop, like break, continue or pass? What is a range function, especially when we make use of the for loop? And if time permit, in the end we don't fall short of time, we'll also discuss how loops are nested. Is that okay? All of us, it would be great if you are attending the class with computers or laptops at your end, so that you can simultaneously code this simple syntax of loops. Okay, here we go. Take it. All right. Let me increase my font size a bit. And guys, I hope people are working on those assignment questions, correct? We are sending you a lot of questions for self-practice so that you stay tuned with the rhythm and the methodology is what has been taught here. Okay, so make sure that you are putting in an equal effort as much as we are doing it, please. Fine. So loops, as the meaning of the English word itself suggests, it's something that is repeating. Am I right? Like a fan, it's working on the ceiling above me in a loop. That means that circular motion is going on in a loop. वो चले जा रहा है, चले जा रहा है, चले जा रहा है, but this motion is happening in a loop, like one chakkar, second chakkar, third chakkar, fourth chakkar. So these chakkars are nothing but called as better iterations or loops. Is that okay? So something that we are doing repeatedly in a given interval of time or a given interval of situation, that's called as loop. So that's what the official definition here tells you. In order to handle repetitive task, okay, let me highlight this word, people. In order to handle the repetitive programming task, Python makes use of loop. Python is not a new one or the only programming language who uses loop. In fact, any programming language always makes use of loop. Alright, fine. If you have attended our old JavaScript classes and remember the concept of loop, I introduced that time what is DRY principle, like don't repeat yourself. Am I right? Don't repeat yourself. So if I want to print 5 times, say, let me say hi, again hi, again hi, again hi. 1 minute please. Okay, so in fact no fool will do this work. Okay, no fool is going to do that. Right? I'm going to write this print hi statement only one time, but I make sure this runs in a loop 5 times. Hi guys, I hope you're understanding here. So what if I want to print hi on the screen 50 times? Alright, I'm not going to write it 50 times in coding. That is unnecessarily repeating the same piece of code again and again, but I definitely make sure that I write it just one time. Okay, but I make it to run total in a 50 times, in a loop of 50 times. Okay, so this is the syntax I'm writing here for C++ Java. For those who know, and even those who don't know, need not to break your head, we are going to come to it. Okay, so that means hi is going to be printed 5 times as per this loop says, right? So this is a wrong method. Okay, this is a wrong method, and in fact this is a right method, that is using the concept of loop. Okay, I give it a green signal here so that you always remember this is a green signal. भाई ऐसे करना है, 10 बार, 50 बार, 100 बार, 1000 बार एक चीज़ आप नहीं लिखना. Fine. So if I want to print some pattern, maybe I want to print some design, so this is the logo of my company, something like that. Okay, it's following green color, let it go. Fine. Say this is something logo of my company and I want to prepare it something like this. What happened? Okay, let me go to the new page. Can I? Okay, let me get rid of this. Delete. Okay, so say this is some kind of logo my company wants to print. I think that pattern, let me give a space. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this way, of course, if you notice one thing, this is a code which is going to print that pattern, say print star, but how many stars on each line? So definitely I'm not going to write even in a slightest programming way, like first print 1 star, then print 2 star, then print 3 star, like this. No fool will do that. If you feel this way, again print something like that. First of all, this itself is wrong, but even if slightly by any angle you are thinking this way, so this is totally wrong idea. जब स्टार ही प्रिंट करना है तो write some logic that only 1 star or only 1 print statement would be enough to print this entire pattern. Okay, fine. So this is what loop achieve for us in coding. It is ideally used to perform the repetitive task in programming languages. This is what the definition says as here. Okay, so Python programming languages handle repetitive task using loop. Loop नहीं समझेगा, loop नहीं आएगा, coding सीखने की कोशिश भी नहीं करना. Okay, we need to be very particular while writing and making logics using loop. It's a it's a life savior, people. It makes our task easier. In fact, it makes us to write smart code. Okay, not only short but also smart code. Fine, चलिए काम की बात अभी. Python supports 2 types of loops. One called as a while loop, another called as a for loop. Okay, there's no concept of do while here. If you're coming here from the background of JavaScript or Java, no, only 2 types of loop, while loop and for loop. Yes, and then in for loop there are another categories like for else. In while also we have while else, but that's not a type of loop. In fact, it's one of the type of the for loop, right? So basically these are the only two types of loop that Python makes use of majorly. Any other type falls as a subtype under these categories. अब बात समझ रहे, राइट? आप इसके अलावा कहीं भी ट्यूटोरियल में, कहीं भी आर्टिकल में पढ़ोगे भाई दिस इज फॉर एल्स ऑल्सो, दिस ऑल्सो, दैट ऑल्सो, that might fall as a subcategory under these two main categories. Please keep the points noting. Develop the habit of attending classes with notebooks and pens in your hand. We have been repeatedly advising you with this. Okay, take it. So let me first start with for loop, then I'll come back to while loop, and then I'll go back to for loop. So we'll study all these loops part by part this way. For से start करेंगे, then we'll come to while, then I'll go back to for, and then I'll come back to while, right? So we are studying both of these types of loop together, and we have a reason behind doing so. So here we go. Fine. Say I want to print numbers 1 to 10. You could see my output also here. Acha, these are odd numbers, right? I want to print the numbers 1 to 10. So one of the most common coding or the basic level of coding is, if you don't know any logic, so let me say print 1. All right, then okay, so this would irritate you but help me to come to the point. 7, 8, 9 and 10. Okay, so I select them, control enter. Oh, I could see the output here, in fact. So this is how it is printing. Okay, somewhere 7, somewhere 6, somewhere 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, fine. Now the other way is what? Why are you using this print statement 10 times? You should have implemented some logic by writing a loop. So let's see how to do that. Let me put this entire code as a comment. ये पूरा कोड कमेंट में रख देते हैं. And here we go. Alright, for now okay, let's start this way. For I in range, this is the most basic syntax of for loop in Python. That means for using range function. Okay, for loop using range function. Range is a function, people. Remember, I need to use opening closing round brackets here. Okay, for those of my friends who are new to coding, remember, any keyword that ends with opening closing round bracket is always a function. Yeah, that's another story. There are different types of functions. Some functions are constructors, some function plays the role of some other thing. Alright, but majority or most of the time those keywords who ends with opening closing round brackets are the functions, right? So for I in range something to something, right? Now I'll talk about this range part later. First try to understand who is I. Okay, here I is a variable. Okay, the way we write I equals 1 or I equals 2 or A equals 10, how this A and I plays the role of variables, correct? Fine. So similarly, this guy, this fellow I is a variable, but this is a special variable when used in for loop. It is called as a counter variable. Okay, now what do you mean by counter variable? The one who keeps count. I hope you got my point. The one who keeps count. So the racing is going on, 4 participants are running, but I have one volunteer who is keeping a count, who is going to come first, who is going to come second, who is going to come third, who is going to come fourth. So this volunteer has not participated in racing, but he is keeping a count, correct? I hope you got my point. Concept clearly defined. There is a cricket match going on and we have a scoreboard. And then on the scoreboard we are continuously displaying the count of maybe the runs scored or maybe the wickets lost or taken, etc, etc. So this is nothing but keeping a count, right? So when you say for loop has to run in loop a certain part of code, So how many number of time the same task to be repeated? People mind this statement please. Come on, how many number of times a particular task should be repeated? The loop has to keep a count, and this count is achieved using counter variables of the loop. Alright, even if it is clear, I please repeat one more time. Loops always run a task repetitive number of times, but how many number of time it should run, how many time it has already executed, how many more left. So all these counts are kept in the loop by its special member called as a counter variable. Alright, fine. Now since we are using range function here, people, this is the syntax of range function. Range function has this syntax, that is range, okay, some start value, some stop value. Okay, some start and some stop. There is one more argument, but that is optional, called as a step size. Okay, like when you set some timer in your mobile phone as a counter, if you people have ever tried that, कभी भी मोबाइल फ़ोन में कभी टाइमर सेट किया है तो इट आस्क यू फॉर सम स्टार्ट वैल्यू, फॉर सम स्टॉप वैल्यू, कहाँ से स्टार्ट करना है, कहाँ स्टॉप करना है. Right? The same thing, counter variable asks you for the start value and the stop value in a range function. So this is how I am giving it here. So start counting from 1 till 10. Okay, counting start from 1 till 10. Now what happens is, see, this is the moment you have given it a colon, that means the block starts, people, and the next line is automatically indented, correct? Fine. Now I say print, let me first print a message called as hello. Okay, so let's see what happens here. If I run this, just 2 lines of code, okay, it's printing hello multiple times. Now if you sit to count how many times, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, so it has printed hello total 10 times. Okay, now let me quickly give you the dry run. इसने 10 बार कैसे print किया. Okay, come on, this is my dry run, people. Or let me do one thing, let me copy these 2 lines of code in a notepad file. Okay, notepad. Have patience, people. Alright, fine. So this is my comment here. Loop number 1, which is also called as iteration number 1, people. As I told you, loops are nothing but iteration. Gol 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 chakkar. So in loop number 1, this guy I was initialized value as 1 because this was a start value, correct? Range function में आप जो भी start value लिखते हैं वो I को पहली दफ़ा initialize हो जाता है. Right? So in loop number 1, I got initialized value as 1. Now there is a certain checking that goes inside the range function. Check is 1 less than the upper limit 10, because start value is always a lower limit and the stop value is always the upper limit. Getting it? Fine. So is 1 less than the upper limit 10? Yes, it is. 1 is less than 10. Condition is true. What to do? Come inside the block and repeat everything that is mentioned in this block of code. Okay, does include start value also? Yes, Shreyas, but I will come to your point, friends. Shreyas is asking your question, does range include start value also? Answer is yes, but if you do not give a start value, the default value is always 0. Is that okay? Fine. If you do not write a start value, the default is always 0. I hope you got my point. Shreyas, why did it print 9 times? Because 1 to 10 and the upper limit is not counted. I'll come to that point. Okay, I think Shreyas counted it correct, then me also. It was printing hello total 9 times and not 10 times. So we'll see with the help of dry run why it is happening. Okay, but one question of Shreyas that I would like to answer here, is it compulsory to give the start like this first argument? Answer is yes. Answer is no, it's not mandatory. If you give a start value, the loop starts from that number counting. And if you do not give a start value, the default start value is always 0. Now clear? Why is it printing hello 9 times? Let's try to see here with the help of this dry run. I is equal to 1. What is present in the block to be executed? Hello to be printed. So output is hello gets printed. Okay, understanding? So let me copy this line. In loop number 2, come on, in loop number 2 people, now after printing hello, doing its job, when you come back to this loop for the next time, people, I gets incremented by 1 automatically and becomes 2. So in loop number 2, the new value of Mr. I will not be 1 but it will be 2. So this auto incrementation of I happens by default in the loop. I hope people understanding. Auto incrementation of I खुद ब खुद I 1 से बढ़ जाता है और आप चाहते हो वो 1 से ना बढ़े, 2 से बढ़े, 3 से बढ़े. So they have given here the third argument, that is the step size. Got it? Fine. So if you do not specify the step size, the default step size is always 1. That means increase the counter from 1 to 10 by 1 always. Got it? Fine. I repeat this point again. Increase the counter from 1 to 10 1 by 1. Is that okay? Increase the counter starting from 1 to reach 10 but 1 by 1. But if the step size is 1, it's not mandatory to write. You leave it because the default is always 1. So coming back here. So I becomes 2. Please check the condition. Is 2 less than 10? I'm writing that 2 here. Yes, 1 was less than 10. I is 2. Yes, 2 is less than 10. Okay, so hello will be printed. Loop number 3. Come on. If we could be little fast. Loop number 3. I auto increment by 1 and becomes 3. Please check the condition. Is 3 less than 10? Yes. Condition is true. Hello will be printed. Am I right? Hello will be printed. So in loop number 4, I auto increments by 1 and becomes 4. Check, is 4 less than 10? Yes, it is. Condition is true, so 4 will also be printed, or hello will be again printed. Am I right? So in loop number 5, I increments or auto increments by 1 and becomes 5. Yeah, 5 is less than 10. Hello will be printed. Okay, so if you don't mind, I follow this instruction for number 6, 7, 8, 9. When I auto increments from 5 to become 6, 6 is less than 10. I auto increment from 6 to become 7, 7 is less than 10. I auto increments from 7 to become 8, 8 is less than 10. Condition is true, hello will be printed. 8 auto increments from by 1 to become 9, and yes, 9 is less than 10, so hello will be printed. Total how many times hello got printed so far? 9 times. But in loop number 10, guys, in loop number 10, I auto increments from 9 by 1 to become 10, and sorry, 10 is not less than 10. Is that clear? People, this condition is not true, so hello will not be printed. Okay, that means it's a criteria that you came out of the loop. I hope you're understanding my point. This is a criteria कि भाई हम loop से बाहर आ चुके हैं, so you won't be printed. Now suppose you wanted to print 10th time also, so please keep the upper limit 11. This is one way, because starting from 1 till 11, the last iteration number will be 10. Is that okay? Or the other way is, if you don't want to change the upper limit, change the lower limit to 0. Because starting from 0 to 10, so it will stop at 1 less than 10, that is 9. Or 0 to 9 ka ginti is again total 10. Is that okay? I hope that question is answered now. When I wrote the loop from 1 to 10, why hello got printed 10 times? So remember, in Python, your range always works, or the iteration always works 1 less than the upper limit. Clear? Okay, bookmark this point so that you are never confused ever next time. Okay, in Python, for loop works always 1 less than the upper limit in the range function. Got it. Thank you. Alright, fine. Okay, so let me run this code here again. Okay, hello is printed. So I think, okay, instead of 1, let me write here 0 then. I don't sit and count, but I hope that's total 10 times. Or if I write here 1 and I increase this upper limit to 11, It's still going to be 10 times. Hoping understanding. It's still going to be 10 times. One more thing I wanted to show you. Okay, again the question asked by Shreyas, what if I do not write the lower limit? Is it compulsory if you pass just one argument? 1 minute please. Okay, fine, that was my mistake, forget it. If you pass just one argument, so it will be always considered as a stop limit, that is upper limit, and in that case the default start number or the lower limit is always considered as 0. Okay, fine. Any answer to that question what Navin is asking? Okay, Navin is asking us something, that how to decrement to write. Suppose I don't want okay, first of all let me write it how to increment. Okay Navin, before coming to your question, in fact, say I don't want to print hello, I want to print what is I. Okay, because if you could see my dry run here, in loop number 1 I was 1, loop number 2 I was 2, similarly in loop number 9 I was 9, loop number 10 run ही नहीं हो सका because condition went wrong or condition turned false, let me say, correct? Fine. So instead of printing hello, oh I think I made a mistake here. No, sorry, that's okay. Okay, so instead of printing hello, let me print what's stored in the variable I. Is that okay? So if I say run this, so it is writing me here that you are getting an output from 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and last number 9. Okay, I hope you understood why I did not write I in quotes, because I is a variable. So if you want to print numbers from 1 to 10, okay, I changed the upper limit to 11. You could see the last number is 10 now. Similarly, you try if you want to print numbers from 1 to 50. But if you want to print numbers from 10 to 1, so change the lower limit and the upper limit. I want to start from 10 and come to 1. This time give a step size of -1. Okay, otherwise by default the step size in the syntax of range function is always 1. Okay, this third argument is for the step size, people. Okay, to try to set here the step size as -1. Let's see what it prints this time. Okay, so it is printing right starting from, come on, right starting from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, because the upper limit it will work for 1 less than, correct? It stops at 2, and if you want to count 1 also, so you should have written here 0. Okay, can you give me the dry run and tell how this would have worked? ये कैसे काम किया होगा, एक dry run से समझा सकेंगे आप. Okay, let me change this part. Say starting from 10 till 1, step size of -1. So how it would have affected? In loop number 1, I will be assigned the value of 10, correct? Now this checking would be opposite. It has to check is 10 greater than 1, not less than. It will check for greater than because the step size is negative, clear? If the step size is positive, condition will check for less than upper limit. Come on, let me write these 2 points here. If the step size is positive, which is by default 1, positive 1, the condition checks for less than upper limit. Am I right? But if the step size is negative, the condition rather checks, okay, the condition rather checks for greater than the upper limit. Okay, so because here the step size is -1 and which is negative, it will check for 10 not to be less than 1 but to be greater than 1. Yes, 10 is greater than 1. Then 10 decrements and becomes 9. Why 9? Because you have given a step size of -1. If you would have given -2 from 10, it would have become 8. Are you understanding? Correct? Fine. If you would have given -5 from 10, next I would be 5. Right? Fine. So this is how it checks. So is 9 not less than 1 greater than 1. Okay, then I decrements and becomes 8. Check, is 8 not less than 1 but greater than 1? Getting it? Ma'am, in case if you want to print infinite times, okay, fine. If you want to print infinite times, if you want to print, while will be a solution, not for. Okay, while will be a solution, not for. But if you want to print infinite time, like this, see, like this, this is what you're asking. In fact, he's asking what if I want to print infinite times. So we write like this, while true. Okay, ideally where I write true, in while syntax we write a condition. Okay, so I write a print high. Okay, something like that. So if I run this, you see there is no condition to come out of it. Okay, there is no condition to come out of this. It's printing, it's just continuously printing. My program is running, people, it's continuously printing. Is that okay? It's continuous, it's still printing. I just abort it by saying Control C. Okay, Control C. Control C means it's a keyboard interrupt. Fine, yes, of course, there it will be a memory overflow. The program performance would come down. Then in that case, you will have to take some input from the user and make sure that the loop is under control by giving somewhere in between the stop criteria. Okay, otherwise you always have some conditions and some keywords like break. While in this infinite loop, if we meet some condition, please come out, and so on. Is that okay? Yes, in JavaScript we use comparison operator like less than equal to, but because in the range function we cannot make use of less than equal to, that's the reason we have to give upper limit 1 higher than what we expect. Okay, Navin, your question will match if I come to while loop now. Is that okay? Fine. Okay, so let me get rid of this. We are not discussing about while anymore as of now. Okay, let me reverse this loop, so starting from 1 to 10, but this time step size of 2. So what will happen? That means after 1 you could see I incremented to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, and 7 to 9. So these are nothing but the first 5 odd numbers, correct? So simple, this 1 line or 2 lines of code will form the logic if someone say you print first 10 odd numbers or first 50 odd numbers. First 50 odd numbers will be from between 1 to 100, right? So all that you have to do is starting from 1 to 100, say print this. I hope the last odd number is 99 here. Or if you wanted 101, so make it go to 102, something like that. Is that okay? How the greater than comes, can you explain again? Okay, I'll come back to that. You're talking in terms of negative loops, right? Navin, make your question clear. How greater than comes, I'll explain you that part again. As of now, this part is clear. Fine. So if I want to print first 10 even numbers, people, I'll start from 2. Let us try first 5 even numbers. We know the first 5 even numbers are between 1 to 10. So starting from 2 till 10, take a step size of 2. How will it work? Okay, step size of 2. Okay, so it is printing only 4 even numbers because first I will be 2, check, and 2 is less than 10. Correct? In the second loop, I will increment by step size of 2, so I will become 4. Correct? Again 4 is less than 10 now. You are understanding. I increments by 2 because the step size mentioned in the range function is 2. Step size देखने का people, आपने कितना step size दिया है to increment the counter? It's 2. So if you try to increment 4 by 2 or I by 2, current I by 2, it becomes 6. And yeah, 6 is less than 10. Then again 6 increments by 2 and it becomes 8. And yeah, 8 is less than 10. I increments by 2 and this fellow becomes 10. And sorry, 10 is not less than 10. correct? Fine. So if you wanted this value to be counted, so maybe I write here 12 or 11. I think both works. Is that okay? Right, starting from 2 till something 11. No, you can't start from 0 because 0 is neither even nor odd. आप अगर इधर 0 लिखोगे, so 0 will be considered, people. Okay, print I में 0 will be printed. See, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. And I know very well the first even number is 2. That's the reason I started from the lower limit 2 and not 0. Is that okay, everyone? Fine. So work with different numbers. Like if you want to print the first 10 multiples of 10, first 10. So I know the first multiple is 10, and the second if I run the loop till 100, I write here the step size of 10. Am I right? Because I know the next multiple of 10 is going to be 20, and then the next multiple of 10 is going to be 30. So every multiple comes in a interval of 10 unit age, correct? So the step size to be taken here would be 10. Here. Let me print this. Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 90, something like that. Want to include 100, please increase the step size, or let me say the upper limit, not step size. Means step size is negative. I asking ma'am. Okay, I understood, Navin. Okay, hold on. Keep your question noted. I'll come to your point. Is that okay? Understood, everyone? This is how for loops work with the range function. Now, something if you could notice here, एक चीज अगर आप देखोगे तो, say I want to print from 1 to 10. Okay, 1 to 10, and when the condition turn false, now I think I have changed it here. Let's take this part. Till 9 it printed. 10 could not be printed because condition in the loop turned false, correct? So Python provides you this facility. You know, this is not otherwise else possible in any other languages, at least in C, C++, Java. Right? If a condition turn false, do you want to give some message to the user? Okay, so let me write the code and see you understand. Okay, let's see how it works. So this is the message that got printed only once, not in a loop. Am I right? This is called as a special type of for loop, for else. Remember, people, there is one type of loop for, and there is another type of loop called as for else, in which else part is executed not in the loop but only when the condition turn false. Okay, someone has to acknowledge me in the chat section, people. Is this part clear? Okay, for else, there are some logical problems which can be solved only with for else loops. It comes in that handy and helpful in such scenarios. कुछ ऐसे लॉजिक्स होते हैं जो सिर्फ for else solve कर देता है. But you have to keep in mind that else part of for else never runs in a loop. Instead, rather, it is executed only when the condition turn false. Okay, would be glad if somebody could acknowledge, people, this for else understood or not. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Right, so that is going to execute in the loop only once. Kabhi, when, if the condition goes wrong, or let me say condition turn false. Say you want to give some message to the user. There is some special task which you want to perform only when the condition has turned wrong or false. Correct. Fine, so this is a for loop. This is an else part of the for loop called as for else. Okay, this is not a different type of loop, but it's a variation of the for loop only. Okay, fine. In some time, I'll come back to for loop again. For loops are yet not complete. अभी तक story खत्म नहीं. In fact, why for loops are used or how Python uses for loop, we have not touched only that topic. But before that, let me first write the same program using while loop. Is that okay? Say I want to print 1 to 10, but this time not using for, instead using while. Just a moment, please, just a moment. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is the syntax of while loop. Let me first show you in my Word file. Okay, this is the syntax. While and some condition, and the code goes here if the condition is right, if the condition is true. That's it. Okay, while and some condition, and the code goes here if the condition is true. Like for example, initially the value of count is 0 till count is less than 10. I want to print what is present in count. So the same thing, let me code here in a little easier way. Say I is equals to 1. While I is less than, now in your solution, look what you have written in the comment, that in JS JavaScript we have used comparison operator like less than equal to. So here you have full liberty in while to use less than equal to. Clear? Is it okay? For loop never allowed us to use the operators there, correct or not? Range function straight away asked you two questions, start limit and the stop limit, upper limit and the lower limit. Range did not ask you to use any operators, logical or comparison operator, and write their conditions. I hope you got my point. Is that concept clear? Fine. तो यहाँ पर आप operators use कर सकते हैं in while. You cannot make use of these operators there in for, as per the syntax of Python loop structures. Clear? Right? So make sure whenever you are writing condition with respect to variables, those variables are pre-initialized first. Okay, बाहर while loop के, while loop शुरू होने से पहले, before the while loop could start, the variable which are involved in the conditions are initialized already. नहीं तो you will put yourself into big trouble. Okay, करना क्या है भाई? While I is less than 10, print this guy I. Come on, print this guy. Okay, what value I is holding, print it. But there is another problem. If someone could tell me where am I going wrong. Wait. Every day I keep in mind to keep my problem of Visual Studio Code, VS Code, troubleshoot it by deleting some heavy projects, but every day due to lack of time I forget. Wait guys, wait. My Visual Studio Code is malfunctioning. ठीक है. It's infinite. You see, while I is less than 10, print I. My program is still running. It's not stopped. It has yet not stopped. But where is 1 to 10? Like I want actually to print from 1 to 10. Can anyone tell me why is it happening so? It's still running. You look and continuously 1 is only getting printed. What is the problem exactly? What is the problem exactly? Where I went wrong? Did I go wrong, or is it the way it is desired to work? If somebody could please help, my friend, where did I go wrong? Increment. You are right. Is that okay? Where are you incrementing the counter variable to reach 10? Right? In every loop of this while statement, I is still 1, and every time the condition is right, 1 is less than 10. Then why won't it stop, or let me say why won't it print 1? Correct? अरे भाई हर बार I 1 है और 1 तो 10 से कम ही होता है. As per the condition mentioned there, it is true. Is that okay? So you have to explicitly increment the counter variable here. Do not expect like for loop the counter variables are automatically incremented. Got it? Yes, you didn't provide any increment or decrement, guys. Is that okay? Increment or decrement, but in this case increment will only work because the upper limit is higher than the lower limit. Okay, Navin, to somewhat your question comes here. If the upper limit is bigger, make sure the step size is positive. Increment hota hai. Alright, but if the lower limit is bigger, then you have to make sure that the step size is negative. Clear? Alright, I speak this point one more time. If the upper limit is bigger, then the step size has to be positive, increment. And if the lower limit is bigger, then the step size has to be negative. That's for decrement. Right, so first of all, let me break and come out. So Control C, it's a keyboard interrupt. Okay, inside the block only I say I is equals to I plus 1. Is that okay? I equals I plus 1. Now for those who feel that I plus plus will work, your answer is no. This was the syntax of JavaScript or C++. Python doesn't support this kind of unary operators. Are you understanding? Alright, हाँ, एक काम आप कर सकते थे. You wanted, you could have written this in a shorthand way. Okay, because I plus equal to is a shorthand operator of writing the above expression. Okay, so this is almost equal to write I is equals to I plus 1. Okay, similarly I minus equal to 1 is almost equal to write I equal to I minus 1. Okay, so this way or this way, both will increment I by 1. Okay, initially let me follow the first one. Now let's see whether it works or not. Yeah, it's working. And this time I don't have to struggle for writing upper limit 1 more or 1 less, because the less than equal to operator provided me that liberty to reach the limit where I want to. Is that okay? So similarly, if I wanted to print from 10 to 1, okay, so let me change the lower limit, say start I from 10 till I reach 1. Okay, Navin, again your question, but now you can't write less than 1, because 10 is never going to be less than 1, correct? See, if I run the loop this way, no, there is no output here, because the condition went false in the first iteration itself, right? Who is I? I is 10. Is 10 less than 1? No, 10 is not less than 1. So the loop even won't execute one time also, correct? पहली बार ही कंडीशन फॉल्स हो गया, पहले चक्कर, पहले आइट्रेशन में ही. आइट्रेशन नंबर 2, 3, 4 सवाल ही नहीं आता है, right? So make sure that you change the logical operator here, the comparison operator. You're not less than but greater than, because the lower limit is bigger this time, so the condition has to check for greater than. Am I right? Upper limit is bigger, the condition has to check in for less than. Is that all right? Fine. So if I could run this, what am I doing here? Let me stop. Okay. Oh, okay. I think I am writing here I plus 1, which will again be wrong, people. So let me write here I minus 1, because we need to decrement it, right? I hope you understood. You see where am I going? It is infinitely increasing I, and it has reached more than 250 now, right? So this was a syntax error. I'm sorry, logical error. Correct? You're checking for greater than, but you're incrementing. Actually, decrementation was required there. So let's see if this is the problem or not. Okay, I think I need to reinitialize my I, because it is taking the last value of I. Okay, line number 26 needs to run again. And starting from here. I hope this time it should work. That's it, correct? Is that okay? So starting from where? Starting from 10, 9 till 1. I hope all the troubleshootings that we did here was clear. Is that okay? The troubleshootings that we did here was pretty clear to all of you. Where did we go wrong, syntactically or logically? Is that okay? Fine. So we learned the syntax of for loop, we learned the syntax of while. Now the same thing that works for for, that is for else, also works for while else, like this. Okay, so you can even do like this. Else else, people, simply print here, say simply print here, loop ended. Okay, loop ended. So this is not going to work as a part of the while, or let me say in a loop of while, different loops, rather it will be executed when the condition has turned false. Is that okay? Fine. So let me run this. Okay, let me execute the while. Let me execute the while. Okay, finally, because after the condition went false, am I right? After the condition has turned false, that was the last statement printed. So would be glad if you could acknowledge to me in the chat section, for else, while else, both clearly understood or not. Okay, so let me show you this part from agenda we have completed. Today's agenda. This was our today's agenda. Okay, so while loop and the for loop, the range function, am I right? And the range function. Is that okay? Fine. Alright, time doesn't suffice us to go with break, continue and the pass keyword. So all these we will be learning tomorrow. Is that fine? Okay, nothing more special I would like to take you for today, but I want people to keep one question in mind, so that we can easily start the class tomorrow. In fact, if you can, please try to come with the answer. अगर आपसे हो सकता है तो you also come with the answer. Like, if everything that for loop does, even the while can also do, then what is the difference between two? Are you understanding? The same numbers from 1 to 10 I printed using for loop. The same even numbers from 1 to 10 I can print using while loop. So obviously there must not be only the syntax difference, correct? There must not obviously only be the syntax difference. There must be some other motive behind creating for loop if there was already while. Or if my brother can do the same job, why should I also do, and who would require me to do that? There must be some difference between the two, correct? So keep this question with you. Try to find out the answer if you can, because this is from where we are going to start the class tomorrow. Okay, and for practice you're going to take some questions like this way. Input a number like this, people. Okay, let me write some questions here. In fact, most of these questions we had also done during our JavaScript days. Okay, while can run for any unknown range, but for an okay can consider that way. But there is one big difference between for and I in Python, for and while. Okay, fine. So take first one. Input a number from the user and display whether it's prime. Okay, number 2, again input a number from the user and display Fibonacci series up to that count. Okay, so for example, if user says number is equals to 5, then your generated Fibonacci series will be 0, 1, 0 plus 1, 1, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 plus, but I have to stop here because the 5 terms have taken the position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you know the Fibonacci series, right? And I hope you have done it during our JavaScript days, Fibonacci. If not, then please try to develop the logic. I will do it in case if you can't. Okay, Fibonacci series starts from two fixed numbers 0 and 1. Two fixed numbers it starts from 0 and 1, and then it keeps adding every previous two number to form the next number. Like 0 plus 1 will be 1, 1 plus 1 will be 2, 1 plus 2 is going to give you 3. It's possible you might have to use if conditions inside loops. It's possible you have to use another loop inside a loop, which becomes a nested loop. So please try to brainstorm your mind. Try to do that. Next question that you keep it done for tomorrow is input a number and find the total digits of the number, digits of a number. Okay, also reverse that number and finally verify whether a number is a palindrome. Okay, you know the palindrome. You know what's palindrome? A number when reverses a number itself is a palindrome. Am I right? Like 1331, even if I reverse it, it's going to form 1331 only. So these numbers are palindrome. Okay, fine. And finally you will be doing it this way. Input a number from the user and what should I say, and verify whether it's a Armstrong number. Okay, please make sure that these 4 questions you have kept it done by tomorrow. Is that okay? Kept it done by tomorrow, people. That really makes a sense to work for a full stack if you're implementing this logic building kind of task. Is that okay? All of us. Armstrong number is when the digits of a number cubed and summed, it becomes a number itself. Cube only if it's a 3-digit number. Alright, say for example I take a number as 343 or 342. This is not an Armstrong number because 3 cube, okay, the cube of 3 plus the cube of 4, alright, 4 into 4 into 4 plus the cube of 2, so that's 2 into 2 into 2. That should be equal to 342 only. Now I need to cross check and see whether it is to 342. I'm pretty sure it is not, because this number is not an Armstrong. Okay, but if this condition suffice, that means it's an Armstrong number. I hope you got my point. Okay, all of us are fine. So keep my question in mind. What is the primary or the major difference between the 2 loops in Python? We have not discussed this point in the class. And make sure that you keep these 4 programming questions solved by the class tomorrow. ऐसे ही मत चले आना, प्रोग्राम कोड करके आइए. Okay, that will keep you confident, people. That will keep you confident. Tomorrow I will start the class again from the difference between the 2 loops wala point, and then we will be exclusively spending time only with for loop tomorrow. Okay, fine. That's all from my side for today. Let's have a quick recap of what we have done. We learned what exactly are the loops. A repetitive task in any programming language is achieved by looping the code in a construct. For and while are the 2 different types of loop. For can also be written in a variation of for else. While can also be written in a variation of while else. Am I right? We have used the for loop today with the range function. Is that okay? Fine. Our time is up. We need to connect to the next class. So make sure that you are keeping your duties done by time. Okay, make sure that these 4 programs are being coded by you at your end. That's all. Sending you the attendance link.